Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out something called Rainbow Maze by developer Frozen Cow. This is the first bit of coverage that I'm doing on the new LD game jam. This is LD 31 with the theme entire game on one screen. This came out as a bit of a surprise because I didn't realize, I guess I was so busy working on the 7-day FPS game jam, I didn't realize there was a whole nother LD competition that was wrapping up. So we've now been presented with another 2,000 plus games to browse through, and I haven't actually taken my time to look through them very efficiently yet. I've actually only just seen a couple, but this one kind of stood out to me as something rather interesting, and I'm always a huge fan of games that have sort of that macro-micro approach where you get like a vast amount of stuff to see at once, and you can kind of take your time to parse through it, or you can rush and try and do your best. They actually made a Castlevania game that had a similar approach to this, which I thought was kind of a neat idea, but in this case we're going to be navigating a big old maze with this little rainbowy ball here, and the maze is actually procedurally generated every single time, so this combines my love of rainbow colors with massive mazes, as well as this neat magnifier thing, which is, I don't know if it's necessarily a gimmick, but it kind of works in a cool way. It lets you play around with the scale a bit, and kind of makes the maze interesting because we can actually approach it and solve it while we look at the ball, while also looking at the overall approach and trying to figure out if where we're going makes actual sense. Okay, so we can press spacebar to jump. Very nice. This is a checkpoint. We'll activate that checkpoint, and then we can use R to go back. Occasionally, since this is a maze, of course, you will get stuck. There will be dead ends where you can't necessarily jump out of, and that's useful to know for that reason. We can use the mouse to drag this magnifier. Very nice. So when we get to the center of the maze, this isn't going to automatically get out of the way, so we'll have to actually click and drag it around. We can scroll to zoom the magnifier. I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit because I find that to be a little bit more of an efficient way to see the world around me. And then we can drag and scroll to resize the whole magnifier. So if we want to make this just a tiny little point, we can do that as well and zoom that out too. So actually, I think something like this might actually serve it reasonably well. Drag on map to view areas. So if I want to, I can actually zoom ahead. Not sure how helpful that really is, honestly. I think I kind of like keeping it centered on the ball for the most part. Drag plus R to go to checkpoint in view. Probably don't even need to do that. I guess if we get stuck and then the checkpoint doesn't even solve it, this is sort of a stopgap measure for that. Actually can't see the text there. Try to get to the star in the bottom right. Okay, well that's our objective. And also have fun is the other objective, of course. So we're going to be seeing about trying to figure out the best and most efficient path downward. With these types of mazes, I think it gets to be a little bit tricky to try and plot them too far ahead, so there might be a point here where I actually just jump in, and I think that point is actually going to take place fairly soon, because the first path that I tried to navigate through in my mind was to go all the way to the right, and that doesn't seem like the right way to go. Also, there is a wall jump, but it's kind of not super useful. It kind of just sort of works as a horizontal wall jump more than, you know, gives you any extra added altitude, which is kind of what I need out of the wall jump in that case. But we'll kind of climb over all these little impediments and head over here. I really love that the lighting takes place as we go, in addition to us leaving that little rainbow trail. And it's a nice compliment, by the way, that when you finish the game, it actually lights up the whole maze and gives you a whole little, you know, kind of a show to it. Because honestly, you know, solving the maze is not so much about the platforming, it's really mostly about just being able to see where you're going. As far as getting to where you're trying to go, though, that just sort of takes place organically. There wasn't any point in me trying to solve one of these mazes, and I have actually solved one of them already. I never got to a point where I was like, man, I really can't jump over these things. I do get into these points occasionally where I just realize I've just walked myself into a dead end. But the solution to that is pretty obvious. We would just hit R to backtrack. I'm just trying to see if there's a way that I can get out without having to hit R, because that would probably be actually more useful, and I think I can actually get out, so let's do that. Oh, careful. The marble physics are not perfect here. I definitely could see the platforming being a little bit more accessible. Oh, there was actually a checkpoint there. I didn't even notice that one. I must have gone right over it. I'm actually thinking this has some really great applications to other types of gameplay. Oh, is this also sealed off? Huh, I guess I must have to go... How do I get up there? I need to go all the way back up and over to the left, I guess. So maybe I need to scroll to the last checkpoint, which was where... Actually, honestly, even the first checkpoint would probably be good. Drag plus R to go to checkpoint in view. Where is the checkpoint to go into my view? I've lost it. Oh, it's all the way back here. Drag plus R. Oh, I'm already there. I was expecting a sound or some kind of cue there, but I guess not necessary. So we want to try and get up to the top left point. There's actually a path that I can follow here. So we're going to go down, then we're going to trace to the left, and then we're going to go up and over. And anyway, what I was talking about earlier is that I'm imagining if you were to create a situation, I know this is not going to actually happen, but a game sort of like Super Meat Boy that's a little bit about like the Twitch platform and your ability to maximize your skill as you navigate the environment, maybe even adding on some sort of a time component or, you know, something chasing you. Maybe that might be frustrating, I'm not entirely sure. Oh man, is this another dead end? How on earth am I supposed to get in there? I wonder if these are all solvable. I hope that they've created a way to check for that, because this one doesn't feel super solvable. I see a lot of other ways I could go, granted, but I don't feel like a lot of them would result in anything. But anyway, yeah, the Meat Boy idea, I think something like this, where you've got a big old giant scale map that you can kind of explore on your own, could be a neat way to kind of twist up that concept of a sort of dexterity-driven, fast-paced platformer. And I even tried to make steps in that direction when I was big into Little Big Planet. That too, but not that in this case. Super Meat Boy level editing and modding and all of that stuff. Well, it's really just level editing. There was no real modding to be done. But I actually had created a level that, or, well, I guess you could call it a level, but I looked at it sort of like a hub world where you were to... Oh, can I get up there somehow? I don't think you can. I think I have to find yet another way. And I've just screwed myself by going into that checkpoint again. This maze is not giving me any breaks, guys. But yeah, I tried to create a hub world where essentially I could go back and try and solve areas one at a time. The problem is, like, there's only so much you can do with that because there isn't really a way to sequence that problem other than just give the player a huge space to explore and try and solve things at their own pace. But in terms of, like, overall progression, like, all you had to do with that was keys. There wasn't a lot of latitude you could do with it. So I'm thinking something like this could have a lot of different directions that you could take the player in. Did I really just fall through that by accident? Come on. That was actually a mistake. I meant to go down and to the left here. Trace through this. I think this ultimately ends up in another dead end. Because this is the first thing that my mind traced through when I started out. You can go through this kind of fast if you can just sort of... Oh, you know what? Maybe that is actually the path. Well, I mean, you do kind of get the idea, and there's not a lot to this as far as complexity. I mean, right from the start, I'm sure you guys could see, like, this is a giant maze, and we'll try and solve it in any way that we can, hopefully in as least a frustrating path as possible. Unfortunately for you guys, I happen to have picked basically all of the wrong ways to go. But that is the nature of the beast, and also when you're trying to commentate over them makes it a little harder, too, because I keep missing these paths that I'm just falling down accidentally. But yeah, I wanted to get over to the right and try and make my way down. But you know what? We're going to keep this a super short episode. Reason being, I'm actually a little bit worried that my power might go out because we're having a pretty bad rainstorm right now, and I want to try and get this done as quick as possible. Not usually my priority when it comes to indie impressions. I like to keep these things rattling on as far as I have things to talk about, but honestly, with this game, I think you get the idea. This is actually quite playable. It's a fun concept. Very well done for 48 hours, I would say. If this was done in the 48-hour game jam, I actually need to double-check that. But there's usually just the two. It's like a 48-hour and a 72, I think, if I remember. And this one, well, regardless, it's good work for a short amount of time. Making a procedural maze generator like this by itself is a pretty cool idea. And the ability to take this into other gameplay concepts seems pretty awesome as well. So, you know, I'd love to see this adapted in other ways. I'd love to see more games that take this approach with a macro-micro type of thing where we can navigate on two different planes. And I'm just going to check out all the other stuff in the LD competition, see if there's anything else that takes a similar mentality to it. So I'm going to leave you with that. Of course, if you want to check this out yourself, feel free. There will be a link in the description as always. And do give me your comments. Let me know what you think about this idea, what you could do to improve it or change it. I think, honestly, having the neon rainbow theme does actually a lot to make this more interesting. And also, I kind of wish there was, like, some physics-driven marble stuff going on, too. I see that the marble will slowly roll down this, so I'm thinking, like, why couldn't we play that up and have there be all these weird acrobatic little impediments that we'd have to overcome by using physics and momentum and things like that? That could be really fun. That's a really cool idea, I think. So maybe somebody will take me up on that idea, and if they do, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. So I will leave you all for another day. Thanks again for watching. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Be back again tomorrow for another Indie Impressions if you liked it, and I will see you all then. Have a fantastic night, everybody.